Hey friend, welcome back to Bible Tract Echoes. I'm Micah McCurry, your host. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I deeply appreciate each of you who take the time to listen to our program. Your support, your prayers, truly, they mean the world to us, and they enable us to continue sharing the gospel through this broadcast, our free gospel tracts, those tracts that we print and distribute around the world. Now, before we dive into our study today, I want to take a moment to talk about one of our tracts. You can grab your Bibles and go to the book of 1 Kings. Going to read just a few verses for you today. 1 Kings chapter number 15. Before we dive into that, I'm going to talk about one of our tracts. It's titled, He is Not Here. Now this tract, it's a powerful reminder of the resurrection of Jesus Christ and the hope that we can all have, that we do have if we're saved because of his victory over death. Now it's perfect for sharing with someone who needs to hear the good news of Christ's resurrection. I would imagine you come across dozens, if not hundreds of people on a monthly basis that need to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. You can request this tract and many others for free through our website, BibleTractsInc.org. That's BibleTractsInc.org. We print and distribute millions of gospel tracts every year, and we would love to send you some to help you share the gospel in your community. Now, let's get to our Bible study for today and this week. We're starting a new series just for this week, and the thought is this: 3 of the biggest spiritual mistakes you could ever make. 3 of the biggest spiritual mistakes you could ever make. Now, you know as well as I that we are very, how should I put it? Familiar with making mistakes. We are humanity. We make mistakes all the time. In baseball, they call them errors. In tennis, they're unforced errors. Today, we're going to call them mistakes, though, and not all of our mistakes are spiritual nature. We can make physical mistakes. We can smash our hand with a hammer, our thumb with a hammer. We can close our fingers in a door, all these different types of things. We can step on Legos when we get up to get a drink of water in the middle of the night. Physical mistakes, sure. We can make a myriad of different errors or mistakes, and sometimes we can make what I'll call verbal mistakes. You ever done that before? Husbands, I'm sure you've never been put in a quandary. You've never been put in a situation where your wife asks you a question and you're not sure how to get out of it without either egg on your face or a frying pan to the face. My wife is a wonderful cook. She does a great job, and actually she was working on, not that long ago, she makes this pineapple cake that is just, it's not technically a pineapple upside down cake, but it is just phenomenal. The problem is, I've told her she can only really make it when we have to go out and we're taking it to a friend's house or something. That way I don't eat it all, because if she just makes it for us, it'll just slowly disappear, from the fridge. And that's not a good thing for me or my waistline. And so she's a great cook. But I remember it was about, the first year or so that we were married. My wife, as I said, was doing a marvelous job, and we were happily married, still are, by the way, almost a dozen years in. Time flies when you are having fun, but she was making some tomato soup. Now you got to realize I love soup. It's awesome. It's a liquidy type thing, and so I can eat so much of it without getting obscenely full. I know I have a problem with food. We've talked about this before. At some point in the near future, my metabolism is going to shudder to a halt, and I'm doing my best to scrape together a little bit of discipline when it comes to food. I've done well, but talking about it right now, I'm thinking on the great tomato soups I've had. Think about it. A little bit of grilled cheese. If you really want to kick grilled cheese up a notch, put some pepperonis in there. This is just next level stuff. And my wife was making some great grilled cheese. She was making some tomato soup. And from what I understand, I'm no chef, but from what I understand, you can take tomato soup, and if you want to make it a little creamier, you can add some dairy to it. I don't know if you'd normally use some, you probably wouldn't use Cool Whip. You might not use sour cream, but maybe use some milk. Maybe you would use some half and half, whatever it may be. Again, I'm no expert. I just enjoy the fruits of other people's labor. I enjoy eating the products other people make. But this day, we were, again, a young couple, young married couple. We didn't have a whole lot in the fridge. Maybe she hadn't gone shopping in a little while. It was just the two of us. Our girls weren't born yet. And so for some reason or another, we had no dairy in the fridge. And we've gone through a kick of, we were doing some dairy alternatives. I know. I don't know if it was soy milk or almond milk, whatever it was. And you can crucify me later on. You can stone me. Bad decisions. I get it. But regardless, we had almond milk in the fridge, and she thought, I'm going to make it a little creamier. And you're already thinking, oh man, it's going to be terrible. There's almond milk in the tomato soup. But that's not the reason that there was a problem. And the reason was because it was vanilla flavored almond milk. And I'm sure, I am just absolutely certain my wife will very much appreciate me sharing this story to our international, I should say, radio family. But hey, it's reality. This is what happens. Young married couples, and in all seriousness, we laugh about it now. Anytime she makes something that for some reason doesn't slightly turn out, I said, hey, at least it's not tomato soup with vanilla. Because I'll tell you what, of all the things that tomato soup needs, vanilla is not one of them. I dare you, I challenge you to make a tomato soup with vanilla in it taste halfway decent. I'll tell you what, that first time, I think if I recall correctly, I took my grilled cheese and I dipped it in the soup. And so I take that bite anticipating this great, creamy mouthfeel and the sandwich, the crispiness of that. You got multiple textures going here, the cheese, but there's this underlying wrongness, that was kind of in the background, but really it was in the foreground. It was just like smacking me in the face. Something is not right. And I must have had the most quizzical look on my face because my wife looks at me and says, how's the soup? And what followed, I don't recall precisely what I said, but I would imagine it would fall under the category of a verbal mistake. Now, I realize this is something of a humorous illustration, just a little bit of a story. Maybe you chuckle a little bit, and maybe you as a husband or wife, you're remembering those times in your life. I hope you are. It's a good time, and my wife and I still chuckle about it to this day, almost 10, 11, 12 years later. But I think about that. I think about the various mistakes I've made in my life during this week of broadcasts. I'll share a few more of mine with you. My wife is probably done with me sharing her mistakes right now. But no, in all seriousness, I'll share 2, 3, 4 of my personal mistakes over this week. But I think about of all the mistakes I've ever made, verbal, physical, maybe even emotional, putting my hopes and dreams on something that I shouldn't have. Friend, I'll tell you what. There are some spiritual mistakes that I want to avoid or certainly not repeat because I am not immune to spiritual failures. And I think back to times in my life that I've made spiritual mistakes, and my hope, my prayer today is that we all, including myself, we can learn something that will be a help to us and help us avoid some of these spiritual mistakes. Tomorrow, we're going to really unpack the first one, but I want to give an introduction to the first Bible character that we're going to look at as it pertains to spiritual mistakes. Go to 1 Kings chapter 15. 1 Kings 15, verse number 8, the Bible says this, "And Abijam slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. And Asa, his son, reigned in his stead, and in the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, reigned Asa over Judah, and 41 years reigned he in Jerusalem." He had a long reign. "And his mother's name was Maachah, the daughter of Abishalom, and Asa did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, as did David his father." Now, not his actual physical father, but you realize many times genealogies in the Bible will refer to forefathers as a father. "And he, Asa, took away the Sodomites out of the land and removed all the idols that his fathers had made." What a wonderful testimony Asa has. What a legacy. And you know how it is at funerals. Oftentimes, we look at the highlights of someone's life. They could have been an absolute jerk around the dinner table, but we'll say, oh, they were at least they were nice to their dog, But in reality, we know that reality itself isn't shown through a eulogy. Maybe we picked the highlights, and here we have a little bit of a highlight of Asa's life, 41 years, did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, but there were some things that he did that weren't right. And we're going to look at those tomorrow on the broadcast. But as we unpack this idea of spiritual mistakes, my desire, my goal, my hope, and my aim for you is that you will make sure that you will pause, that you will take inventory of your life and how you approach spiritual mistakes. Do you approach spiritual mistakes with the desire to learn from them, to overcome them, and to not return to them in the future? We're going to use Jesus, of course, as an example for us tomorrow on the broadcast, and we're going to ask that question, what would Jesus do? But I want you to pause for a moment and think back on spiritual mistakes you've made. I would think, if you're anything like me, maybe you don't have to look too far back in your memory. Maybe it's in recent days. I wonder, when was the last time we really communed with God? When was the last time we really gave him his due? We're going to talk about that, the 3 biggest spiritual mistakes you could possibly ever make. And we're also going to look at a little bit how to avoid them. It's bad enough that we have to look at these mistakes. Let's bring some encouragement to it as well and find out how we can do better and overcome them in the future. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I'd ask you to use Asa's life, this king we're going to talk about, use his life as a warning. Maybe people will say nice things about us at our funeral, but I'd like to know, I'd like to be assured that at least a few of those things are true. What will be said of us when it comes to spiritual mistakes? Tomorrow, we're going to look at the first spiritual mistake that we can make. My prayer, as always, is simply this, that you have a great day for his glory. My hope, my desire is that you'll join me again tomorrow as we continue this series on the 3 biggest spiritual mistakes you could ever make.
Thank you for tuning in to Bible Tract Echoes, the radio ministry of Bible Tracts Incorporated. Want to see our gospel tracts and other resources? Visit us online at BibleTractsInc.org. That's BibleTractsInc.org. Or follow us on social media to learn how you can partner with this ministry. Thanks again for listening. May the Lord richly bless you as you live for Him.